that when we're coasting in life,
Mm-hmm.
because he was coasting at home, when we're coasting at life, we're essentially headed downhill.
This is the Untamed Podcast, where only the few dare to go. We're building a community of adventurous high achievers who refuse to trade our dreams for comfortable mediocrity so that we can unleash our untamed potential. Could you be one of the untamed few? Now, your Untamed hosts, Marc, Lucas, and Joel Fritz.
Hey, what's up, Untamed Few?
An untamed few guy, you're with us right now. You're clear, you're courageous, and you're on your path of purpose.
That's right. And Marc and I have these conversations throughout the week when we're prepping for these podcasts, when we're dealing with the different things of the business. And we had a great conversation the other day, and we feel like we just have to share it with you. It's about success, because we're always talking about how we can be most successful in life, most untamed, not held back from our full potential. And so this conversation was about that. And as I was asking Marc about any circumstances he had in his life where he had seen men become or want to become successful in all areas of life, he just busted out the greatest thing. I think he was, weren't you on your way, Marc, to
Bass Pro
Bass
Shop.
Pro Shops? That's right.
I was.
Getting some fishing line or something, but he just gave this incredible story and wanted to let everybody hear about success.
Well, maybe all great conversations happen on the way to Bass Pro Shop. So possibly. But yeah, we were driving to Bass Pro Shop, and you didn't even know this about me, and I don't talk about all parts of me with you yet. I mean, you're finding out more and more in the 10 years we've known each other. But I used to be a chaplain for a professional baseball team, Anaheim Angels. And I had this conversation with one of the great shortstops actually that plays for the MLB right now. And I'm chatting with him. And in this conversation, I asked him, I said, what has made you so successful as a shortstop? And he gave me a bunch of great words that describes he's driven. He is full of grit. He is willing to hustle and put in the time and the effort and the energy. And I just stopped him and I said, that's also true. You're unbelievable. Like, I'm in awe of how you play shortstop, and you're one of the best in the world right now. But I asked him, I said, what is the cost? Like, your drive is what's made you so successful. What is the cost to your family, to your wife specifically? And he just stopped. And there was a long pause. And he said, Marc, to be honest, I really haven't thought about that. I haven't thought about the cost. What has been the cost to my wife? How driven and successful I am as a professional baseball player. There's obviously a cost to his family. There's a cost to his wife. So that was the dialogue that we had, you and I.
Well, and it's just such a true thing. And now we're talking to guys who have experienced some success in their lives. I mean, these are high achievers. You guys are high achievers that are listening to us right now. And you're always asking yourself, how can I be more successful? But one of the things that seems or often gets missed is we form up an idea of what success is, but it is likely or often about the marketplace. And it's also the place where we get the quickest feedback loop. So whether it be marketplace or sports, there's a very similar feedback loop. And so your example there shares something. As let's just say a shortstop or a baseball player, you're going to have to swing that bat thousands and thousands. Maybe he swung a bat 1,000,000 times at that point, or fielded 1,000,000 ground balls. And
Probably.
we understand kind of innately that we have to do little steps and master little things before we can do better at big things. But for some reason, we have a difficulty in applying that across the board in our life. And there are multiple areas that we need to succeed in if we're going to be successful in a general sense in life.
Yeah, and the follow-up part of that was with this conversation, and he realized that he was not successful at home. He realized that if I were asking his wife that question, has your husband been completely driven and completely all in his grit and tenacity at home? And he knew, as well as I did, because of that great pause, that the answer was no. And I think he realized that, and I realized this in my life as well, that when we're coasting in life, because he was coasting at home, when we're coasting at life, we're essentially headed downhill. And you're right, it's that feedback loop. Because there's an immediate feedback loop being in baseball. He knows the pitch counts, he knows how fast he's throwing, he knows his batting average. There's statistical data for everything he does on obviously the baseball field. But there's not those KPIs and those data when it comes to his home life. And he was coasting. So we had to really begin to process him and I over the course of the next couple of years of knowing him, really the home life and what success looked like at home.
Yeah.
And how can he be more successful? Because the pivot was, okay, you're coasting at home. Now you identify that. Your wife would say, and attest to that as well, what are you capable of at home?
Yeah.
You know what you're capable of on the field.
Right.
What are you capable of at home? And that's really the question that I have to ask myself and hold up a mirror in front of myself.
Yeah.
We all have to ask ourselves that question because we know for the most part, the untamed few that's with us right now, they're crushing it in their KPIs and the feedback loops and deliverables in the marketplace.
Right.
But what are we capable of and what's the ceiling really at home? Like what can we do to get 1% better and get better at home? That's the real question that I think
feel
the
like
rest of
that's
us today.
what's so exciting, and one of the reasons that we just had to share this, though, Mark. And
Yeah.
it's so exciting that it is almost easy to take the success that you have in one area and move it over to another area in life. It's just first you have to acknowledge, just like you said, you have to recognize it. So in your example, you're saying, well, have you thought about this? What's the opportunity cost at home? We tend to understand opportunity cost financially, but what's the opportunity cost relationally? And then once you acknowledge it and engage it, relationships and some of these other major categories in life that we want to succeed in are more of an infinite game. They're not something that we get points on the board right away that we're going to recognize and get feedback for. Now, in baseball, you will. You either win the game or you lose the game. You know, you have a batting average, the whole thing. That's very easy for us at work. You made the sale. You walk into the office. Everybody's like, yeah, good job. And then you get a bonus. I mean, it's very simply structured. When we win or we do something that our wife is going to appreciate, it doesn't mean we're going to walk through the door. She's going to give us a pat on the back and be like, let's go to the bedroom.
Yeah, exactly right.
It's just not the same. So, but we can apply very similar techniques because we have to get good at some of the most basic things. I mean, you and I ask each other, have you told your wife, something about her that she would appreciate today? Do you even plan to do it every single day of the week? What are the things that you're going to do on a regular basis? You can build out a structure, but then it requires you to get accountability, just like you have a coach or something like that, because the coaches are asking these players, did you take your swings? Did you feel the ground balls? The most basic things. But we have to be doing the same thing at home.
That's exactly right. And I think you hit it perfectly. I think we've got to begin to think about and this is what I did with him. What is a single at home? What is a double? What is a triple? We had to begin to really put some metrics and language behind it because at the end of the day, we all do it. We throw ourselves even more into the areas in our life that are winning. Mm-hmm. And when work and the metrics and the KPIs and we're hitting 10x goals, we're winning. It's easy to keep putting our energy and our effort into the marketplace. Yeah. So once we establish in a conversation with the people that we have at home that we love, hey, how can we take one step forward to hit that single, to hit that double, to hit that triple? And we begin to contextualize that, him and I together. It was amazing. Then he could actually identify success. Yep. He's like, you know what, Mark? I actually had a couple singles last week.
And then
it wasn't getting in the bedroom. That was not the single. So we had a couple singles this week. And then, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say that ultimately you don't know when it's going to come in relationships, but it eventually begins to show itself. And when it shows itself very clearly.
It really does. It really does. So, I mean, we want to keep these short, and I know we're pretty much out of time right now, but probably the last thing I'll say is just begin to really identify it. Again, this awakening, this breakthrough, this awareness. What is your single? What is your double? What is your triple? Like, define your reality and then begin to kind of think through what are some of those metrics and deliverables for the home? Like, what are you capable of at home? And maybe it's just finding out what your single is. That's okay. But begin to really put together a plan and some energy and some effort around hitting some singles at home in your
and just
home
get
life.
down the fundamentals, and then you'll see the big wins in relationships. So this is awesome. We do want to keep this under 10 minutes. We're going to do these kind of on the regular because we felt like it'd be really helpful. They're just short, helpful tools that we'll be able to put up and say, ask you the question, are you becoming untamed? Are you walking the untamed path, your path of purpose? But it's Marc and Joel. Really excited to be with you guys. Look forward to the next time.
Appreciate you guys. Take care.
Bye.